తలుపు जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदना जय व्रज जनारंजना यशोदानंदना जय व्रज जनारंजना जय यमुना तीरवनचारी जय कुंज विहारी चारी जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jayo Krishna Balaram Jayo Nittai Gauranga Jayo Nittai Gauranga Nittai Gauranga Jayo Nittai Gauranga Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3, text number 37. Can we turn on this TV as well? Please repeat after me. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashana Mahapapma Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhi Enamiha Vairinam Vidhi Enamiha Vairinam Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyena Miha Vairinam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyena Miha Vairinam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyena Miha Vairinam. Word to word translation. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Kamaha, lust, Eshaha, this, Krodaha, wrath, Eshaha, this, Rajah Guna, the mode of passion, Samudbhavaha, born of, Maha Ashanaha, all devouring, Mahapapma, greatly sinful, Viddhi, no, Enam, this, Iha, in the material world, Vairinam, greatest enemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Purport. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. It is therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded Himself into many for His ever-increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities and parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Atatho Brahma Jignasa. One should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadyasyato Anvayad Itartastacha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so, he becomes the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chekshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasyat Desatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." So we see here, Krishna is giving us insight into a very, very important and pertinent subject matter of the Gita, the effect of lust on in this material world. There is a nice story about discussion between Vedavyasa and sage Jaimini in our Shastras. So Jaimini Rishi was a student of Vedavyasa, who was a Shaktya Vaishya avatar of the Lord, and he was actually helped him in compiling of the Vedas. And so one day they were having a discussion in their ashram, and Vedavyasa was telling Jaimini that this world, one has to be very careful about lust. It is a very, powerful force that can, engulf you at any given time. And one has to have a healthy fear of this. At that time, Jaimini Rishi said, "Oh Vyasadeva, see, we are all both sages. We have given up everything and we are sitting here in this ashram, in the forest, right? Under a, hut. What is this? This is really a subject matter for us, right?" And at that point, Vedavyasa said, "Oh no, my dear son, be careful. Lust is something that can attack you at any time." And he just laughed and kept quiet. So later, next day, Jaimini Rishi was getting ready for his, morning rituals. And suddenly there was an overcast sky. And there was thunder and lightning and all that. And so he just went to go get his clothes that he had put out to dry. And so he went to pick over there, and then suddenly, at a little distance, he saw a young lady was standing under the tree, trying to keep herself protected from this big storm that was raging. And so because it was raining so heavily and wind was lashing from all directions, she was just trying to stay a little dry, but everywhere water was, flowing. Water was spraying So that point, Jaimini Rishi thought, oh, looks like, this lady is in a distress. Let me try to help her a little bit. And he went over to her and said, oh, lady, I don't know what you're doing over here today on such a day like this in the middle of this forest. And it is, you see the heavy thunderstorm that is there. Do you need some help? And she, very respectfully offered obeisances to Jaimini Rishi. And then she said, oh Rishi, thank you for your offer of help. But I am a woman. You are such a exalted sage. Now how can I take any help from you? In this, you have taken a vow of celibacy. I'm a woman. I can't, how can I take help from you? He said, no, don't worry about all of that. This rain is so bad. You come, you stay inside the hut, and I'll sleep outside. That way, we can both be safe from this rain. And she reluctantly agreed, and she went. And by this time, it had already gotten dark, and so she went inside. She was taking rest, and Jaimini Rishi was taking rest outside. And it was a very cold night, and so Jaimini Rishi felt, oh, it is so cold out here. I can just ask, I'll just stay inside only the hut. She can stay in one corner, I'll stay in another corner. Right? And then so Jaimini Rishi knocked on the door, and then that lady opened, and he said, oh, if you don't mind, it is very cold outside today. No, I will just lay in this one corner, you stay over there. She said, okay. And then she went, and he was sleeping over here. So, in the middle of the night, suddenly Jaimini Rishi was overcome with lust. And then he went up to where that lady was, and he started to embrace her. And at this time, as he was embracing her, he was feeling, what is this? This is a young woman, and embracing, she should be soft. It looks like, there's a mustache. And, she felt like, a little elderly person and all that. And then suddenly he woke up, and it was Vedavyasa who was next to him. And then Jaimini Rishi was woken up from his bewilderment. And then he fell at the feet of Vedavyasa and said, now I understand what you're trying to say. One should have a healthy fear of lust at any given point in time. So this is given in our Shastras to give us a little bit of a healthy fear of how this world works. As Krishna is telling over here, right? This Vidhi Iha Vairinam. It's the greatest enemy. It's not a little enemy, the greatest enemy of the soul. So, one has to understand, how this material world is created, what are the different elements of the material world, how they act upon us. Without this understanding, sometimes what happens, in our naivety, we can get caught up, and we can make serious mistakes that could compromise our spiritual life itself. Right? In this purport, very beautifully, Srila Prabhupada, is elaborating on what Krishna is telling. See, but Krishna is also giving us a hint over here. How do you protect yourself from this lust? Right? He is first, giving an understanding from like a Sankhya Yoga understanding of this. Sankhya, anybody knows what Sankhya Yoga means? Huh? The understanding of the different material elements of this world, understanding of how this world works. See, Sankhya Yoga is like almost like saying physics. Like, what does physics teach us? Huh? How matter interacts in this world, right? In the initial parts of physics, there is all the three laws of motion, Newton's laws of motion. That's talking about gross, elements, gross matter interact with each other, and then there is quantum mechanics and this and that and all that. So, like that, Sankhya Yoga is talking about how this world is created, what are the elements of this world, how they interact with each other. It's talking about a very scientific description of the interactions of the different elements of this world. So, here, from that understanding, Krishna is telling Arjuna, the secret, one of the secrets of controlling, lust over here is telling lust which is born of, what does Krishna say? Huh? Mode of passion, right? It is born of contact with the material mode of passion. See, one should understand, these modes of material nature are a very, very powerful force in this material world. That is why Prabhupada used to many times say, the material modes are like an infection, right? Nowadays there is a little bit of fear of COVID again, right? Especially in China. I was just hearing from some team member who is in China. They were saying 50% of the team is sick, it seems. And they say not only the employees, our parents, our families are also sick. So again, one more way of this thing. So how do you contact this disease? You get in touch with somebody else who has the disease, and if you are, by the infection, you get the disease, right? So Prabhupada says, same way, when we are in proximity with the different modes of nature, we get infected by those modes. So that is why we see here, Prabhupada is elaborating over here, right? See, which mode is lust connected to? Mode of passion. What is a mode that is higher than passion? Huh? I heard mode of ignorance. Somebody said. This is a lower mode than this mode of ignorance, and upper is sattva guna, mode of goodness. So that's why Krishna is telling over here. You see, when you are in the middle, you can either go up or you can come down. Right? Now, there is a pathway. We should understand both the pathways. So that way we can stay a little careful out of all of this. What is the pathway of mode of passion becoming mode of ignorance? How does that happen? Huh? Somebody was saying? In this verse only, Krishna is telling. When lust is not satisfied, lust becomes anger or wrath. Right? And anger is in which mode? Ignorance mode. See, that is why this lust is a very, very dangerous thing. Once you start playing with lust, your problem has started. Right? Why? Because when lust is satisfied, what happens? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains. Yes, lust becomes greed. Right? Greed means intense form of the same lust. There's another word that is used in the Shastras to explain this also. Vegam is also used. Right? Urge. Right? Sometimes the example is given. Just like when you have an urge to evacuate, it's very difficult to hold back. So that Vega, Mana Vega, Vacha Vega, there are all the different urges are there. And so this, the urge of Lust is very powerful, very difficult to control. Now, when the urge happens, you satisfy lust, it becomes greed. And then greed is also just the intensification of this. But then what happens? By the way this world is structured, right? Can anybody's greed be satisfied? Very emphatically you're saying no. Why not? So, very nicely saying, once you have something, you want more, then you want more, then you want more, and you want more. Right? Just like, that is the nature of greed. You want more and more. For example, the Shastras we always say it's compared to an itch. Right? An itch happens. You scratch the itch. Some relief. Feels nice. But then what happens? The itch becomes more. And you want to scratch more. And you want to scratch more and scratch more. And before you know anything, your hand is bleeding. Right? Also, sometimes, we always give the example like when you have allergies and around your eyes especially. Anybody has got eye allergies here? Very practical example. You start itching around the eyes. Feels so, you feel like touching. Very difficult to hold back. But as soon as you touch, what happens? You'll get immediately, you'll get some relief. And you'll keep, like those who have allergies, practical experience. You'll start pressing and pressing and pressing. And then your eyes will become blood red. Right? And it is paining like anything. And then now you can't even touch. Because it is so much, painful at this point. That is the nature of this world. It is created like that. So like this, you go on and on and on. You want more, you want more, you want more. And then at some point, nothing can satisfy you. Right? And the worst part about this is, either your karma won't allow you to enjoy. Right? Sometimes, just your karma won't allow you to enjoy more because you don't have karma to enjoy. Or your senses are not capable of enjoying. That is also another possibility. But then ultimately it cannot be satisfied. This world is created like that. Now when you are not satisfied, greed is not satisfied, it turns into anger. Now at least you are dealing with Rajoguna. It is a better problem. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says Rajoguna means there is 50% correct and 50% wrong. Sometimes you are right, sometimes you are wrong. But what does Tamoguna mean? You are 100% wrong. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita, actually Lord explains very nicely, Tamoguna, what happens when you are in Tamoguna, you infected Tamoguna. Now, what is day for the sages is night, for the tamasic people. Right? And what is night for them is day for a sattvic person. Exact opposite. Whatever a sattvic person thinks is right, a tamasic person will think it is wrong. So it is 100% you will be wrong anywhere in Tamoguna. That's the nature of this world. That's why you see, when you ask anybody, like, when is it that you get the most sleep? When you feel the sleepiest? In fact, we don't have to ask anybody. In auto insurance companies, they have very, very detailed records of this. Right? Anybody is insurance industry here? Any chance? Or you work in insurance models or something in your technology companies? Nobody? You can go look it up. Let us see, somebody will guess the time. What time do you think is the most dangerous time for driving? Huh? 4 a.m. somebody said, huh? 2 a.m. Midnight, huh? Any other answers? 5 a.m. is about the time actually. So Mataji also was rich. 4 to 5, that time. 5 a.m. is considered one of the riskiest times to drive. Because that's when people are usually very, very, very sleepy. And then a lot of accidents happen. In fact, 5 a.m. when the daylight saving time changes is the most riskiest time too. It has been proven, like, on the daylight saving day, when the day changes, 1 hour it shifts, right? At 5 a.m., the accident rate goes up almost 50%, 50. And this has been statistically, this thing. So, what are all the sages doing at 5 a.m.? Like, whatever Sattvic people, what are they doing at 5 a.m.? If you come to a temple, what will be happening at 5 a.m.? Mangalarti will be going on. Everybody's wide awake. And we are blowing the conch and singing and dancing in front of Krishna Balram. Right? So like that, every aspect of life, tamoguna means whatever you think is right, is wrong, and the exact opposite. So this is the nature of this infection. So that is why it is very, very dangerous to be infected with tamoguna. And now, the other thing, when you are infected with sattva guna, right, by associating with sattvic this thing, you can overcome lust. Right? So what is, we'll see over here, if therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness, right? One can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. See the beauty of Prabhupada's this thing here. And he's giving, what is the method? The method is by the prescribed method of living and acting. How do you convert Rajoguna into Sattvaguna? By the prescribed method of living and acting. Yeah. So, the cultivation of Sattvaguna is actually a very systematic process. If all of us follow the process, you will see, over time you will automatically cultivate Sattvaguna. It is very surprising, how such a simple thing, it is to do that. Right? Now, in terms of our practical things in our lives, what to do and all that, there is one thing, which I see, which, like in the course of a day kind of a thing, that can determine whether you're going to be in Rajoguna or Tamoguna or Sattvaguna. Right? One of the very powerful things. There are many things. I'm not talking about spiritual activities, I'm only talking about material activities. Right? Can somebody name one thing that if you do, at least you're improving your chance of not going into Tamoguna and getting into Sattvaguna? Huh? Yoga. Yeah, yoga means to link with the Lord. It's a spiritual activity. Yoga is a very good thing. But simple things, normal things you do in a day-to-day life. By giving charity. Went off into association of devotees. Very good. All spiritual activities. Huh? Being systematic. Yeah. Simple things. Simple activities. Taking bath in the morning. You might think, it's such a silly thing, you'll think. You can experiment with yourself. I'm telling you, try this experiment. Okay? And I have tried this experiment enough to know the time of the day also. See, even for devotees who are chanting and all that, right? Most of us are chanting and all those things. Now, suddenly say you're not keeping too well or you're not slept enough or something. You get up early in the morning, right? And you get up in the morning and you're not taken bath, but you are already started chanting. Fine, everything is good. If you do that, you'll feel energized because you're touching the Supreme Lord. You'll feel energized and all that. Now, when the day keeps moving, by around 7 to 8, if you don't take a bath around that time, you have chanted also. You have taken this thing, all you're doing. If you don't, then say you get busy in work. This happens, that happens, this and this meeting, that thing, this thing, that thing. By the time you notice, by about 9, 10, you're in Tamoguna. You can practically experiment with yourself. Such a simple thing. Because these are all in the Vedic system, right? When you get up in the morning, freshening yourself and taking a bath is a surefire way of putting yourself in Sattva Guna. Right? Now, people might think, what is this? What is the big thing about taking bath? In fact, there was one particular this thing. This was about a year and a half back. Somebody remembers. One very famous actor, this thing. They actually said, I don't take bath every day. A very famous actor. And there was a big debate going on. And then dermatologists started jumping in. And they said, see, in this day, if you take a bath once a week, then your skin is okay. The dermatologists are coming once a week. If you take bath actually too many times, then your skin, all these oils are all going away and all that. I was like scratching my head. What are these people? You will say, oh, what is there? How much dust? If you actually do some scientific experiment and think about the dust on your body, they had a very scientific explanation, dermatology. Anybody knows what they were trying to say? Somebody remembers this whole controversy that was going on? Nobody remembers. Huh? They were saying that, if you take bath too many times, the skin produces some oils, right? So all those oils will get replenished and, so it's okay. Once a week at least you take it, it's okay. Like that. See, but the reality is the effect of taking bath, it is less to do with, physical cleanliness of we don't get that dirty, no? Nowadays, what dirtiness we will get? It has got to do with cleansing of the mind. The Shastras explain the water. Water has an effect of cleansing your consciousness. Right? In fact, water and also like sometimes clothes, right? If you wear fresh clothes, you feel that, do you feel fresh? It doesn't have to be fancy clothes or anything, just simple cotton, something. If it is fresh, when it's this, you feel fresh. You take a bath, you feel very fresh. Right? Because water cleanses the mind. It purifies the mind. So that is why if you are troubled, if you had a very bad day, previous day, a lot of things, mental tension and all that, simplest thing, you can just go take a bath. A lot of your problems will just go. These are very powerful things about the nature of modes of nature. So like that, somebody said chanting. When you chant Hare Krishna, very powerful process. Right? You connect with touch with the Supreme. So a lot of things are there by method of living and acting in a prescribed way. Right? In fact, that is why, those who are trying to really inculcate Sattva Guna in their lives, it is said that one should take bath at least 2 times a day. Right? One early in the morning, one in the evening. You get into that habit, you will start seeing, you will be imbibed with Sattva Guna. Automatically it will come. So, here, Prabhupada is telling, by spiritual attachment. Right? Now, a very powerful process of converting our Rajasic activities into Sattvic activities is by touching the Supreme Lord in different ways. And one of them is very powerful process, especially for Kali Yuga, is the process of chanting Hare Krishna. Right? So, in this purport, there is also description of how wrath, tamoguna, is a very dangerous thing. But both the lust and wrath can be spiritualized. How can lust be spiritualized? What does Prabhupada say? Example. Lust is transformed into love for the Supreme or transformed into Krishna consciousness. When one connects to the service of the Lord, when one connects into Krishna consciousness, then lust can be transformed back into love of God. Because lust begins from our innate love for God. That's where it begins. And by attachment to the material world, it becomes lust, and now we can transform it back by attaching again to Krishna. And wrath also, Prabhupada gives example of Hanuman. Hanuman, when he was upset with Ravana, especially after he meets Mother Sita, he becomes very angry at Ravana, and then he lets himself be captured, right? And then he burns down the entire city of Lanka, right? That whole. So the Prabhupada is telling that Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. And by so doing, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Okay? So we'll see here, there are very wonderful lessons of something that are very practical and usable in life. And Bhagavad Gita is teaching us a responsible way of living. We'll stop here. Anybody has any quick questions or comments? No questions? Okay. So we will actually practically apply this class today. We will all transform our lower modes into higher modes by touching the holy name. So we'll all chant one round of Hare Krishna together. Please repeat after me. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We'll chant Hare Krishna together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.